Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. It's time for another stack status video where I talk about my stacks of books. I talk about what I have recently read, what I'm currently reading, and sort of my immediate future TBR. But I feel I can sense a behavior change. I can see the warning signs. I am on the precipice of falling. I'm in danger of a slump. I can feel it. I can feel it. So why do I say that? Actually, when I wrote out what I plan to talk about in this video, I was like, maybe I'm not in a slump, but I've definitely been feeling it. So let me just tell you a little bit of those feelings. So for what I've recently read, I feel like I haven't read that much. I feel like that has declined. And so I have, since my last video on, I think the 15th, I finished 4 books here in September. And you're like, okay, well, like 2 weeks, 4 books, like that sounds pretty good. But I read 5 books in the first 10 days of September. So I felt like I was like kind of not slacking off, but like felt like that was decreasing. So what have I recently finished? I did actually finish some of the books that I talked about in my last video that I said I was currently reading. I finished A Cowboy to Remember, which is by Rebekah Weatherspoon. I read this on ebook and I was reading it as a buddy read with my cousin Nicole from See Nicole Read. She and I both read A Cowboy to Remember and we had a interesting discussion about it and about how we both kind of were like, about it. And I have that to edit, but it's long and I haven't edited it yet. So keep an eye out for our thoughts on A Cowboy to Remember. But yes, that is what I finished like the day after my last video. And the book that I finished right after that was also one of the ones that I said that I was working on in that video, which is the book of Essie by Meghan, MacLean, Weir. I read that book mostly on, actually entirely on audio, and I enjoyed it. I did kind of a long review of it. I'll put that up here in the cards and down in the description. So the book of Essie is a contemporary fiction book. It's told from 3 perspectives, and we know right at the start of the book that Essie is pregnant and 17 and has lived her whole life in this family of like conservatives, and she's been on like a reality TV show following this family, and her dad's the preacher, and so like what is she going to do about this pregnancy? But she has a plan, and so over the course of the book we kind of get to hear Essie's plan and sort of more about her life and her family, and the other 2 perspectives are the people that she is kind of like has brought into her confidence and is like using for her plan. So I like this book. I gave it almost 4 stars. Again, check out the description box for the link to my review for the book of Essie. And then the 3rd book that I finished, all of these I finished boom, 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 like the 3 days after my last video, or 4 days maybe, was The Secret by Julie Garwood. I read that book because it was the historical romance choice that Jen from the Book Refuge picked for the September buddy read for historical romances. So I had a live show, and I'll put that link in the cards and in the description, where we talked about The Secret, and everyone else super loved it. And I feel like this was sort of early on in my slump because I didn't really have any expectations going into The Secret, but I was sort of underwhelmed. I had never read a Julie Garwood book before, so I didn't really know what to expect from her writing style, but her writing style is very like light and fluffy and like low tension, which I think if I had been in a different like mood, that would have really worked, but I just kind of felt like it was kind of like meh, and I was like, all the conflicts being resolved, I want conflict. So I liked The Secret, but I didn't love it, and I think I need to give Julie Garwood another try. But yeah, so that was everything I finished sort of by the 20th or so of September. And then in the whole last like 8 or 9 days, I have only finished 1 book. And that last book is Loveless by Oseman. I read this book because it was the September choice for the Page Turner Book Club. I will put a link down in the description for our discussion, which just happened Sunday the 27th on this book, and everyone really liked it. And again, like I had sort of been hoping to push through this like slump. I mentioned multiple times I felt like I was at the beginning of it, and that's because I just felt like The Secret was like okay, and A Cowboy to Remember was like meh, and like the Book of Essie was like that was good, but I wasn't like that was good. And I just, every time I opened any of the books, or, anytime I looked at any of the books that I had, or I opened any of the like e-books that I had out, everything was not appealing. Everything was just like, I don't really want to read that. So I kept checking out more books digitally, and then I was like kind of like reading a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. So I was hesitant. I really wished that Loveless was at a different time, because I thought that I might really like Loveless, but I had to read it in time for the live show. So I didn't love it. I think that's partly because it like maybe a tiny bit like wasn't really meant for me as an audience, but like I just kind of, by the time I got to the live show, I was kind of like nitpicking at stuff, and I really think that that was because I was having this like, oh, I don't really want to read anything emotion, and that sort of was coloring my perception of the book Loveless. But I did just finish that. So what am I currently reading? I just mentioned that I kept checking out more and more things because nothing sounded appealing. So I am in the middle of multiple books right now. I am reading The Dragon Reborn. This is by Robert Jordan. It is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. I'm reading this with a Discord group, and it is September's book. We're supposed to finish it in the whole month of September, and I am at like 10%. So I am listening to The Dragon Reborn on audio, and then kind of picking up the physical copy when I have things I want to underline. So I am enjoying this. This is something sort of different, and I don't like know where the story's going, so I'm enjoying reading this, but I'm also, it's like such a chunker, and it's something that I'm just like kind of working on, and there's no like due date, so I'm just kind of getting to it when I want to get to it. I'm also listening to The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I think that's probably not how you pronounce your name, but anyway. I'm listening to this on audio, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I sort of am unsure where the story is going to go. It's just sort of like following this main character and her younger sister. It's set in like 1955, 1956 in India, and the main character, Lakshmi, is a henna artist. So she like goes around and her clients are women, and she paints henna on them, and she has kind of like a side business too. And so I'm a little over halfway. I think I'm close to like 60-65% of this book, and actually a development just happened that I didn't really see coming, but at the same time, like the second there was like the vaguest hint, I was like, oh, that's what's happening. And then it took Lakshmi like another like 2 chapters to figure that out. But I don't know the specifics. I'm trying to be kind of vague because I don't want to be spoilery. But I am enjoying The Henna Artist. I think it's really like beautiful. I just like this whole last week, I'm like, and after 45 minutes of listening, I'm kind of like, all right, next. I listened to a lot of podcasts last week. Well, I hope this week gets better. I hope I can kind of like pull myself out of this slump. We'll find out. The next book that I am currently reading is The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. I saw that this ebook was available through my library, so I got it out, and I'm a little over halfway. I'm like barely over halfway. And I'm enjoying this. Christina Lauren, that author duo, is probably one of my favorite like romance authors, period. But I know there was a lot of sort of like mixed reviews on The Honey Don't List. People either liked it or didn't like it. And I'm kind of like ambivalent right now. I feel like it's a good setup, and I feel like I appreciate where it's going. I just feel like our 2 main characters are sort of not as fleshed out as they could be. Like, even though we have dual perspectives in this book, like I really am wanting more personality from each of them. I feel like both of them are sort of like holding something back, not just from each other, which like is a very common thing in romance, where it's like we the reader know the main character or main characters, and we know like about them, and then like the other character has to like learn about them. But in this book, I feel like there's too much that sort of like hasn't been revealed to the reader yet. So I just don't care very much about our two main characters. But I'm only at 55%. So like maybe they'll kind of, I'm not really sure where this is going to go because there's like these interspersed little interviews. So like something has happened. I'm intrigued, but I'm not super loving it. Is that because it's a slump? Is that because it's a Christina Lauren book? I don't know. Working on it. The last book that I am actually officially currently reading is Hood Feminism by Mikki Kendall. I'll put the thing here because I am blanking on the subtitle. It's like notes from women that the movement forgot or something like that. Anyway, so this is a nonfiction book. I'm listening to it. I'm not that far in. I think I'm only like 30% of the way in. It's read by the author, by Mikki Kendall. And I'm finding it really interesting because she's talking about a lot of serious topics. Like she's already covered like gun violence and food insecurity in kind of more specifically America, but like how these are social issues and how Mikki Kendall is doing a really good job presenting how they are also feminist issues, which is not the lens through which I have like viewed these other issues, and it's really making me think a lot. I want to do more research on each of these topics, and it just really has made me like inspired to want to like reach out and like donate to my food banks and like protest guns, and I'm just not 100% sure like how to do that part yet. So that's what I mean by like do more research. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Hood Feminism, and I actually just got out the ebook so that I could have that along with the audiobook so that I could underline or highlight the cool sentences and like the well phrased key points. You're sneezing on my video!
I'm sorry.
So my last stack, the immediate future, my TBR, what's coming up soon. I mentioned in my last stack status video that I had just started Take a Hint, Dani Brown, which I had, and I have made zero progress since that video. And that was partly because I had other things I was working on reading, and partly because I didn't want this experience to be like tarnished by my feelings of the slump. And that I feel is sort of what happened with Loveless, and so I didn't want that to happen here. So I think I was like at 20%ish when I stopped before, and I think that whenever I pick this back up, which hopefully will be soon because I just really want to get to it, I think I'm just going to start over from the beginning or like skim through the first chapter, a couple chapters until I kind of catch up, but I want to reconnect with these characters. So this is coming soon. I don't know if it's like my immediate TBR, but I want for sure to get to this book. One of the books that I checked out from my library electronically during all this time of being like, I don't have anything to read that sounds good, whine, was Such a Fun Age by Reid. This is one of my local book clubs, which I used to attend in person pre-quarantine. Is doing this, and they're going to try to do something online. So if I can get my butt in gear, I would like to read that book, but I have so many other things. I don't know if it's like a top priority right now. And I don't really know anything about it. I think it's like a Black woman is a caretaker, a nanny, babysitting, like a white child. And so then like somebody thinks that she's kidnapped that child, and so that's the book. That's a basic premise or something. But yeah, it sounds really interesting, and I don't know if my library is going to be able to pull off having this book club online, just because like most of the people who did attend pre-quarantine stuff were like all retired. So maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but like I don't think that they're going to be able to like zoom in to that kind of meeting. So I don't know. We'll see if I can get to Such a Fun Age. Also, one of the books that I had checked out during this time when I was like, I can't find anything that I want to read, is a nonfiction book called The Only Plane in the Sky, a oral history of 9/11. And that is written by Garrett Graff. I have this on audiobook. I heard that audiobook was like the best way to do it. And I heard this was like a really moving account of 9/11. And weirdly, like nobody at work this year talked about 9/11 or where they were or anything. I felt like it just sort of went by unnoticed. So I heard about this book and wanted to read it. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention is that I have checked out Recursion by Blake Crouch, which I've mentioned on this channel, and I think was possibly on my TBR for the last stack status video, but I feel like I really want to get to this soon because it is like a twisty sci-fi philosophical kind of read, and I feel like that is different enough from what I normally read and might hopefully, fingers crossed, knock out the feelings of not wanting to read. Like, I feel like when I'm sometimes in a slump, I either go for something totally new and different that I've never read before, or I reach for like an old familiar favorite. So I'm hoping that maybe Recursion could do that for me. So those are all of my stacks of books. If you have heard me mention any books here or any authors here that you know, that you love, that you hate, that you have anything you want to say about, please leave those comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. All of my social medias are down in the description box as well if you want to follow me on Goodreads or Instagram or Twitter or any of those platforms. All that info is down in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.